Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host here. My name is Tricia Carr. Well, thank you so much for being here. And as we get going into this really awesome episode, I first want to invite you to leave us a review, however it is that you are getting this podcast. If you scroll down in your app and leave us a little review, that helps to boost the like quotient of this podcast in the actual literal algorithm, as well as the spiritual algorithm of us connecting with one another. And it would be so greatly appreciated. But I appreciate you being here, and it is my hope and my endeavor to be of service to you. And in this episode, I bring to you a conversation with a wonderful, beautiful person, a quantum energy practitioner, intuitive medium, and her name is Rosa Catmull Frichtel. She is an energy healer. She is an intuitive medium whose life mission is to guide and assist others in their life journey. Rosa's deep connection with the angelic realm and with divine source empower her to connect with her client's soul during a session, which gives her the unique ability to read the quantum field of thought patterns and emotions, all stored in the client's auric field. And it provides her with a very powerful intuitive energy reading. And so with an open heart, I invite you into this conversation with Rosa Catmull Frichtel, and I will chat with you on the other side. Well, Rosa, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. We know each other very, very well, and we are definitely soul sisters, quantum sisters, and can't you just feel, those relationships that get activated in your life, and it's like you remember one another when you meet each other, even though, you know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, we were going to do this. I remember. We set this up a long time ago. Well, not that long. We're both very young, but you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It seems like once you connect to the person, you reestablish
Yes.
that long connection, and you feel that kindredness and
Yes.
that just instant love, which is so beautiful, how we become aligned once again.
Yes. Amen. Well, let's have everyone learn about you. If you would like to just share from any place you like about your journey, about the amazing work that you're doing as a quantum healing practitioner and intuitive, let everybody hear about what it is that's inspiring you on this beautiful journey that you are creating.
Thank you, Tricia, and thank you for the opportunity. So I was born in El Salvador in a Latin community where the spiritual world was everyday reality. It wasn't mysticism, but it was more what we interacted with on an everyday basis. Seeing and communicating with spirits, everybody was acknowledged them regardless of the level of education. Oh, my dead relative came and I had this prophetic dream. And in fact, I grew up with a lot of spiritual centers where they were doing physical healings, where doctors would come in and channel through a medium and do live surgeries. And I remember people getting root canals and doing medical consultations. So it was beautiful that I was supported by a reality that established no boundaries for what we consider our special gifts. So it wasn't something you had to work at or you had to be worthy of to have a intuitive gift, or it was something you're born with. It was just a matter of understanding what specific gift or how you processed energy around you. So that was really beautiful. And of course, what we all go through at sometimes it can be a little overwhelming and scary when we step into more than we are ready to process logically.
Yeah. Yes.
So, there were times when things that I didn't understand, such as darkness or, dark spirits, or even the possibility of a light being manifested right in front of me. I'll never forget, I was reading a book and I saw these little stars, just a lot of stars coming and started to form the shape of a being and screaming and feeling excited but frightened.
Wow.
So there's always that factor of the unknown. And when it materializes, what is it going to be like? So I pursued and took, and you've been a great inspiration on the classes, that I've taken to really dive deep into the understanding of what's around us.
Mm.
And the best way that I can put it is we live in a world limited by our perception, right?
Yes.
So during the day, for example, we look at the beautiful sky and we admire and enjoy the sun. But we are so unaware of all the hundreds and thousands of stars that fill the sky. But they're there. We're just not aware of them. But then here comes nighttime, and we step into a completely different world, into a whole new reality of what the sky is and has, and its infinite vastness and openness. And I find that this intuitive world and quantum healing and stepping into what we consider our gifts or our soul purpose or all that we are is just like that. It's almost like being able to step into that whole other view of what's already there and has always been, that is so grand and so vast. And as we step into it and we begin to interact with that, we really become full and complete.
Mm. That's beautiful. And it's the metaphor. I mean, it's not just a metaphor, it's reality, how natural it is for us to be in the daylight or in the night. And then the shifting between those perspectives too, where we become very vulnerable because we're open to all of it in the interbetween. And you were raised with the context where it wasn't shut down. That's amazing. But you still go through, like you said, you still go through the same journey of discovery because you're still a human with a human mind and human reactions. Did you sort of shut it down? Do you have periods where you felt like you shut down those gifts and perceptions?
Yes, I actually did. When I was about 15 years of age, of course, seeing spirits and channeling without being fully aware of it. I would feel a shift and I would start talking, and being aware of so many energies around me at that young age was just very overwhelming, but lacking the tools, lacking again the understanding. This is just, it's not day or nighttime. This is just everything that is happening all at one time. So I did, and I fell into religion, became very religious, and worked a lot with angels and Jesus, and everything that I could to feel that I was just surrounded and encapsulated by light.
Mm.
But who we are energetically is not something we can deny, run away from, or change. It at some point it urges us, and it begins to unfold again. And so by taking a class here and a class there, that whole magical world opened up again, in a communion with different dimensions and light beings and angelic beings, and all of it just became alive again. And once I had better tools, then it was no longer scary.
Mm.
It was no longer frightening. It was a part of me, which I'm sure you've gone through, that we begin to love and embrace rather than be frightened and shy away from.
Mm-hmm. What now? When you say tools, just thinking about someone listening for the first time, and they're like, "But how do you have tools? Like, what are tools to? What is that path, or how would you describe that development process for acquiring tools to help you to manage who you are energetically and communicate it out into the world? Would that bridge? What is that like to someone listening?
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of it is having, I believe, a good coach, somebody that can help us understand, that could really meet and look at our individual energetic composition and needs and soul structure, that can give us sort of a map, a road as to how we are interacting with the world of energy, and how we can continue to develop and step more into it, or taking different classes, like all the wonderful classes that you bring through, that give the logical mind a foundation for this magical world that we are living in that allows us to step into. But one of the biggest things that I have to say that I have found as a tool in my life is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It is just taking that breath once we step into a new awareness and embracing that moment with that trust that there is a new magical world unfolding. And much of what we do oftentimes is we tend to run away from it. We tend to feel scared. We want to have a logical explanation of all that is. But I find that universal source energy will innately and organically guide us. What we call our higher self, these higher aspects of ourselves, will organically guide us to unfolding more of our true nature of who we are once we step into that awareness of the thought, that awareness of the feeling, the awareness of the energy that is within us and around us that we are co-creating with.
Mm-hmm. And how does one, and I love you said a coach, because, a coach, a teacher, someone along those lines, it's just someone who's holding space for you to remember who it is that you really are, because they've maybe gone through a similar process, and therefore you can pick up on the frequency of becoming by that container that you create together. And awareness, as you say, being really the foundation for any of this. And so we do things like meditate and even prayer. In the church, they didn't teach meditation, but they taught prayer. But I was meditating, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I had spiritual development while I was still in organized religion, because I was praying, AKA meditating, contemplating, thinking upon lovely things, contemplating, interacting with beautiful divine energies, even if I gave it just the name Jesus, that Jesus was a portal for me to those beautiful divine energies. And so, meditation and what other kinds of practices, or how do you experience consciousness development practices to be able to enhance that awareness in alignment with something that is your highest good or your true self?
So one of the things that I love to do, being in that state of awareness, is having an intention.
Mm-hmm.
I often feel that, we're interacting with this unlimited source of field of energy that is coming through us. And oftentimes we're not conscious of how we're creating. And so having an intention, waking up, starting the day or ending the day, in that we call it sometimes meditation, but it is that deeper awareness where we drop into the heart center. We kind of notice how we feel, what we're experiencing. But what do we want to experience that day? How do we want to interact with the field that is around us? And so having that intention, and when we power that intention with a sense of will,
Mm-hmm.
an intentional will that is coming through, I find that it definitely breaks barriers and expands us and opens up to that unlimited field of possibilities. And I think that what is been happening a lot of times is that we are experiencing a lot of energy and we get scared and we have no intention. So there is no direction for our own energy and our own feel and our own self to follow. And one of the things that I love and that I find so necessary is, like you're saying, is to work one-on-one with someone who is navigating that field, who is walking that path, who sometimes seems to look so confusing or overwhelming, and just sort of help them focus on their awareness and that intention and that willful way of expanding and manifesting.
Mm. So you do one-on-one work now, right? You do readings, coaching, healing, yes?
Yes,
What are
I do.
what are your sessions and your one-on-one services, and how are you that guide and for others?
So what I love is we're all energy.
Yeah.
And within, we have that energetic field we call the aura or electromagnetic field. And within that beautiful field, there is so much information.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, because in life we've been so busy, we have forgotten to really connect to all that we are. So in my sessions, I love to help the person by connecting to their field of information to point out what is running in their conscious mind and what is running in their subconscious mind, and how together that conscious and subconscious are creating the reality that they're experiencing. So now knowing where they want to go is very simple to begin to deactivate those energetic imprints that are causing the limitations that they're experiencing so that they can get to know themselves in the way they really want to, in the way that their soul was always designed to or meant to. So by doing those sessions, I'm bringing awareness to the person of what we would consider their gifts or the way they're processing energy, and then helping them deactivate or heal or shift those limitations that they're experiencing, holding them back.
And you do this with your clair senses, so clairvoyance, clairaudience, channeling, right? Is that how you basically step in, observe, and communicate what is going on in their field of information?
Yes, so it is a connection to the person's field, and it is a channeling of information that is not only coming from the client's field, but it's also coming from that source, from the source energy, from God, from the universal field of information that actually contains the purest information, all that is truth, and the actual integrity of all that we are. So then the person can begin to be aligned to these higher versions of themselves. And we do a lot of that. It's a quick process because we can even go into different timelines where we didn't know ourselves in those ways. And we can deactivate and change and heal all of that to allow ourselves to become our best version of ourselves in the now.
And now for these messages.
Do you have a sense that there's more to life than what you can see?
Maybe you've had vivid spiritual dreams, experienced odd patterns and synchronicities, or even had hunches or premonitions that ended up being accurate.
You know there's more to this life, but at the same time, you feel blocked or stuck and like you don't even know where to start.
That's all about to change. Lightshine Spiritual Academy presents the Intuitive Intensive, a groundbreaking 8-week program designed to blast open your intuitive abilities and catapult you into a dynamic, connected, and psychic life.
Here's what graduates of the Intuitive Intensive have to say.
This program has been game-changing, life-changing.
There's no going back. I can't unsee all the things that I've seen. I can't unfeel all the things that I've felt. It's been life-changing, not just because of everything that I've learned, but everything that I've experienced.
Join spiritual teachers Crystal Ann Compton and Tricia Carr in this immersive program of education, high vibration, and group coaching.
I have found my purpose and my calling. I really came in to find myself, and that was one of the biggest gifts, is finding my true path.
Read all about the curriculum and register now by going to class.lightshineacademy.com/2022II. Class begins the week of January 23rd, 2022.
If you feel called to it, if it gets you excited in your heart, if it feels joyful, do it. Just do it. Just do it.
The kinds of clients that you attract, do they tend to be on various places of the, points of awareness about what, that we interact with energy? Or do you ever, you know what I mean? Like, do you have people who are maybe at a level where they're like, I'm still afraid? Or do you kind of set the intention that you are in a certain place with the people that you work with? Just curious about that.
Yes, so I open my heart and set the intention to attract those people that are looking for the tools that I can assist them with. So any kind of expansion, of course, is an everyday or a regular discipline. Mm-hmm. So we're able to develop a program, like an ongoing coaching, a program that in these next 2 weeks or 3 weeks will be focusing on these new behaviors, on these new frequencies, on these new ways of knowing self, and expanding, or this communion with a different dimension, or this communion with other light beings. And I also love to do classes. I bring a lot of programs that people can integrate on an everyday basis with simple tools that can take as little as 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, that can expand their awareness of the world we're living in. One of my favorite ones is, I call it quantum healing, because it's a way where everyone can begin to understand how we are continuously interacting with energy. And how these energies will experience them through frequencies or vibrations, so emotions and thoughts. But each one of these energies and frequencies have a consciousness.
Yes.
And how easily we can drop into our heart and notice where we're experiencing an energy, a discomfort, a sadness, an anger, and we can communicate with it. And we can ask, why is it there? How is it serving us, or is it even ours? And how simple, once we can connect to that, we can begin to allow movement of the energy and the frequencies that we no longer desire, rather than holding on to them and trying to figure it out, or rejecting it, resisting it to happen.
Yes, healing and becoming it's a process, and it's wonderful to work with an individual, and even in a session that could be quite create quite a catalyst. But it is, as you say, we need to be doing this in a sustainable, regular. That's how you reprogram. That's how a river cuts a new path in soil. It's consistent.
Yeah.
There can be a flood, and it can kind of break up some soil, but it still needs the consistency of the flow in order for it to be real. A proper ecosystem for that. For the the health and well-being. So that's fantastic.
Yes, one of the big things that I don't know if you're experiencing this, Tricia, that I find in this moment in time is that the collective consciousness is evolving.
Yes.
And so that hundreds of years ago, we came with a particular collective consciousness to survive, or to make it through those times. But today we don't need it. So a lot of the work that I've noticed that I'm being guided to be focusing in is, for example, is resolving within the individual, but also their ancestors and the collective, things such as pain and suffering. That in life we have pain and suffering, and that we need that, or that it is a tool for us to find our strengths, or to develop more. That define paradigms of what a woman is, or a man is, and kind of merging all of this more into that divine masculine and divine feminine. We're walking away from needing the fight or flight, the anger or the sadness in order to survive. We're finding that as the more that we become who we really are, we can begin to deactivate more and more these old programs that we came with. Is in our DNA. Our ancestors had them, that we don't no longer need that, and that we can survive being in peace, drama-free, struggle-free, in abundance, and how to be in oneness with all that new paradigm.
Yes, I agree. And just to contextualize what you're saying about basically the current times, because of course we could look around and say, what are you talking about? There's even more chaos and drama and pain and suffering. And yes, in a certain perspective there is. But I wonder, and this is just a contemplation to put out there to anyone who might be, kind of wondering about how could we think that it's getting, that we're no longer needing pain and suffering in the same way we have, or the fight flight. The fact is that the natural state of the whole field is connection or love, you would say. That's how source energy became more than source energy, was just regarding and, just moving and breathing. And so the natural state is love, and the way you were raised with the natural abilities. It wasn't negated in you, even though the world still rough and tumble sort of does that to us. The natural state is love. And so where there is the despair, the fight flight, or the distrust, the pain and drama, that's actually the anomaly. And so it's easy for something that is a natural state to dissolve the anomaly. However, when the anomaly, the pain and suffering or, disconnection is being killed, is being reduced, it fights back. And so it dusts things up. It gets a little noisier as it's fighting back. That's what the shadow does. The shadow gets a little louder so you can learn the most from it. But if we kind of zoom out and think, like you said, look at our ancestors, we had to live on fight flight. There was no choice because you had to kill your food by your hands, and you had to protect your family from being, marauded by other humans. So we don't, very few of us, or at least many, many fewer of us live in a situation like that on this planet. So I just wanted to broaden that context because I know that comes up in this discussion. Sometimes we, people like you and me, Rosa, get accused of being spiritual bypassers, but in fact, we are seeing the whole thing and we're seeing where the hope is and wanting to emphasize that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there?
No, absolutely. And I think on a personal level, on your everyday life, I think in the old paradigm and what we're trying to evolve through and what I love to guide my clients through is imagine if you are in a building and you're at ground level and there is chaos, let's just say, happening at the ground level. If you're there, then you are, by nature of being there, participating, whether you're acting or not, even if you're just watching. That's the reality that you are in the frequency that is coming at you. And it will activate a certain degree of fight or flight within you because you're seeing and you're being, in a way, participant with the chaos happening. But if you were to go to the top floor and from the rooftop look down at what is happening, now you can have a different perspective and a point of view because you're no longer a participant of that frequency, and you could actually even come with different solutions of way of handling or resolving that chaos that is happening on the bottom. And I think oftentimes in life, that is what happens. And that's sometimes when it's eminent that we need a coach, is because we find ourselves kind of trapped in the middle of what is happening and reacting to it. And once again, with tools of awareness or meditation going within us, we can step into that rooftop and we're able to become the observer of what is even happening in our life, which will then give us more power. Because from that point, without the fight or flight being so in control, then we can find the right solutions for ourselves. And let's don't even go into how it affects our health.
Of course.
Right. When we're on the bottom floor, even our own body, our health is going to go away, our immune system. And if we can get to that top and look down with more objectivity, with more awareness, with more connection to universal source, to that quantum field, then the answers, the solutions begin to come, and we can stay in that place of more balance and health.
Yes, and every one of us is that building. We are like the different floors of the building are the dimensions or densities of who you are, your awareness, your consciousness. And so regardless of your situation, you have a top floor. Let's suffice it to say that, right? Just to put a fine point on it. And I've been in the chaos and felt the release of being able to, have that higher perspective. And the thing is that sometimes that is frustrating when you're actually in the participation of that lower floor chaos. It sounds frustrating, like, oh, we'll just rise your perspective. But it's possible. And it is actually good news because it means that you have I guess you have the empowerment to do that. And that's what's, I think, is beautiful about the awareness and the consciousness practice.
Yeah, I so love that you brought that up, because isn't it something that if we can take ourselves from that fight or flight, from that place of feeling, our existence is completely threatened, to looking at it from a different perspective, just that journey is so empowering. It shows us the core of who we are, that inner strength, that intention, that will, and the connection that we have, and this universal support that we're experiencing.
It's when you're in a lot of chaos or pain, there's a tendency we become the inner child. We become the wounded inner child, or we, in a sense, and then therefore we kind of, I'm speaking from my own experience, feel like we need to be rescued. But in fact, we're always capable of rescuing ourselves. And yet at the same time, there is, this quantum ecosystem of beings of light, but they still never detract from ourselves and our own empowerment. We still are the ones who do the allowing, at least. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And it takes us back to, in part of this journey of evolution, it is the programs, I believe, that we initially came with in societal teachings have not allowed us to step into that place of self-love, which is self-awareness, self-acknowledgement, self-nurturing is all of that we would consider self-love. And those have been the keys to our awakening. So I love that you bring that up, because we live a life feeling unseen, unaccepted, in that chaos, because we haven't had those tools. Somebody that can help us see and nurture and reassure and accept the self. And I think that is why this work is so crucial today, is because we're all hungry for that. We're all longing for a connection within us, from us to the self, and then from us to source, to all that is.
Let's talk a little more about self-love, because there's a lot of experience for people. Some people are, when they hear self-love, because of their core wounds, they may think that sounds selfish. Self-love is selfish. Or they may even be observing people in their life who are narcissistic abusers, who are self-indulgent. And so they're worried about self-love or self-acceptance somehow bringing you into the range of selfishness. And so let's put some air and light around that. If I'll just punt it to you. Say more about that, about the self-love versus selfishness or self-indulgence.
Yeah. So one of the, we'll say, tools that I love to use with clients is, we have been so trained since little, right, to meet everyone else's needs around us, and to be in that giving position and not receiving, because then it's that selfish place. But if we're giving, so I find it very helpful oftentimes to have a client see themselves as that aspect of the child that is needing the acceptance or the safety or the assurance or the peace, whatever it is. And for 30 days, have the adult take care of that child. So it puts the self in the giving position, and the inner self, the inner child, in the receiving position. So to have that compassion and the nurturing. And so the goal is to ask throughout the day, do you remember? I remember when I was in high school, we had this experiment we had to do, where we had to carry an egg for, I think, 30 days or something like that. And we would carry it on our neck, and we could only take it off when we slept, but we had to make sure that it never cracked, right? It's sort of like that. It's checking throughout the day with that little girl or little boy. What would they like? What would they need? What kind of validation? They need to be seen. They need to know that they're being seen. And what I've noticed is this beautiful transformation where people, in a non-pressure way, begin to recognize and acknowledge what's in their heart, what needs they've had for so long that they have gone unseen and unmet. It's funny because we often feel forgotten by those around us. And it's just a reflection that we've forgotten the biggest part of us, right? And so I find that it's a beautiful exercise and an amazing tool that can bring a lot of healing and a lot of stepping into that self-love without feeling concerned that I'm being selfish. What do you think?
Yes, that's so beautiful. Yes, inner child work, inner child healing. I mean, it's everything. It's really everything. Every time we are in reaction, or resistance, either reaction or resistance, it's really the inner child. It is the you needing the soothing, And
Yes.
I've also, a tool that I've worked with before to happen to me spontaneously is the inner authentic voice, which is kind of like the inner divine parent. And it's a voice that I can feel and even kind of sometimes clairaudiently hear. But it comes from the solar plexus up through the heart. And it sounds like my voice, but it is a different texture even, because it's like the higher voice. And she is able to love me in the way that you're talking about the inner parent and the inner child, that relationship. And I can feel the frequency of it, because it's like she's telling, like, for example, would be telling me something like, you have such beautiful intentions and your heart is always so aligned. And I understand why why this was difficult, and like whatever counsel, and just pouring that love onto me. And I've coached, clients into it. You believe it. It's not like just when your best friend says, it's not even like when your mom says it, because you're like, yeah, you're just trying to be nice. You can feel that she really knows, because she's been there the whole time. And there's nothing that she's missing or possibly lying about. Oh gosh. So that inner divine parent or inner authentic voice is really, really powerful too. It can just bring tears to your eyes.
Yes, yes. And that makes me think of, have you ever just sometimes closed your eyes and gone within you? And I don't know if anybody who's watching this might want to try this, and just kind of gone within you and just told yourself, I see you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Or mirror work. Have you ever done mirror work? Mirror work is actually really hard for me to do, because it's so vulnerable. Looking in yourself and in your own eyes in the mirror and saying, I love you, or I accept you, I see you.
And, in my spiritual retreats, we do this exercise with someone else, and one just sits there and receives, while the other one will say those words, I see you. And reassure them, I see you, and you are important. And when those words can really vibrate within your whole being, and you matter, because there's aspects of us that have been longing it. So it is like taking in the most delicious magical potion or elixir that goes right into the heart, that opens up this frequency of I am accepted. And when it comes, like you're saying, when it expands and it pours throughout us, you can't help it but almost to be in tears, because of this energy that envelops you, that has always been within you, that lets you know, I see you, and you do matter to me, and you're important to me. So I'd love anybody that watches the pod, try that. I would love to invite you to truly sit with yourself, like Tricia's saying, in front of the mirror, if you don't have someone to do the exercise with, and just play with that and really look at yourself and look at what you might need. Oftentimes, there's the 5 languages of love, but we keep thinking that love is an outer experience coming in, but it's really an inner experience of I am okay. I'm okay, and I accept me with the mistakes or the joys, or
Yeah, that's the universal law of resonance. Sometimes I work with that, because the resonance means 2 frequencies coming together and fusing so that they're a third frequency. They're one frequency then. And when we admire something in someone else, the only way that we're even capable, by the law of resonance, that we're even capable of recognizing that thing to admire is because we have that as well. And so we close that loop a little bit if we can. If we do that exercise with ourselves to really accept ourselves, it's that love that's within, that's the only truth.
And I wanted to bring up another point here about self-love. And I hope that everybody's listening that can really kind of, take this and play with it and see how it feels. For us physicals, for example, we're physicals. And how oftentimes so many of us go and tell someone else, I love you. right?
Yeah.
Just because we want to have it resonated back.
Oh, yeah.
We want to hear, I love you too,
Mm-hmm.
because then they love me, right? And so, or even our children, our spouses, I love you, because we're waiting to hear and to feel back,
Mm-hmm.
I love you too.
Mm-hmm.
So it can begin to feel that heart. But what a gift it is if we could do that for ourselves every day. And perhaps it's not the word I love you because your heart needs to heal whatever has happened in the past. Perhaps the word is I accept you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of you.
Yes.
You are beautiful to me.
Mm.
You're important. Whatever that affirmation is, that when you look at yourself and you say it, it resonates in the depth of you. Now we are no longer going to be giving it to someone in hopes that it will bounce back to us, but we're starting to generate it within us and reflecting it outwardly to everyone else in the world.
That's a fantastic formula. That's the formula, right? Let's say if someone wants to either enhance their current love life or attract a new love, is to be in love with the self. And it works for any principle, any other category of life, abundance. How can we bring that? Let's talk about that. Let's workshop that together. How do we bring abundance into that, that self-activating formula?
So that's beautiful that you bring that up, because again, I think it begins with a self and that inner child always feeling in lacking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily, and yes, many of us, Trish, we can go on stories, right, about our childhood, how we didn't have, how the times that we felt deprived or the financial challenges. But it is a sense of lacking from the heart, not receiving again that acknowledgement or that acceptance or that pat in the back. Or so we lacked a sense of confidence, or our voice was taken away, our drive was squished. So I think that the frequency of abundance is that frequency of having more than enough of, but that it is being generated within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we can feel that we have all that acceptance for self and that love, and then we know that life it's bringing. We're not approaching life from a lacking frequency, but from a yes, and yes, thank you, and more of, please.
Yes.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. There's, whether it's confidence or somehow, what I was hearing also is some of us are approaching life, whether it's with lack, but it's that I'm broken, or I'm not enough somehow. That's maybe the abundance, core wound has to do with not enough, and I'm not enough. So that maybe that's a great for riffing on that for the affirmation, the self-love affirmation. I am enough. I am abundance. I'm resourceful. I'm powerful. I don't know, some other of those words that means an infinite supply of well-being. And that's what abundance is. Money, prosperity, it's well-being, it's survival. That's what the symbol is telling us.
Right. Well, yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
because people can have money and
for
still
sure.
feel, they're lacking,
absolutely.
feel empty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the outside enhances our sense of abundance. It creates a logical recognition of abundance. But unless we have that within us, unless we're resonating with that frequency and embodying that within us, then even though we can experience so much wealth, we can still feel empty and lonely and sad.
In this, you can be in a relationship and be the loneliest person in the room. So yeah, absolutely. Or you could be a single person who's not in a partnership and be very fulfilled. So absolutely, you're right. Then thanks for pointing that out, that it isn't actually the outer context. It is, but again, it's the inner context. Yet when we have a resistance to it showing up in the material reality, you know what I mean? Somehow, we desire we desire abundance, we desire the love, relationship, whatever, or career, some way that we are experiencing our life in the outside world. Really, we can't even experience the outside context as whatever it is until we experience it, unless we experience it fundamentally inside first with the awareness.
Yes, yes. And that's why, I want to put the invitation out there to anybody that watches this pod, like, come and join us and begin to see, like the evening, a sky full of stars, begin to see a quantum field, a reality full of frequencies and energies that can completely fill you, transform you, and allow you to step into a whole new reality of yourself, but also the world that you're living into. Because energy is creative matter, what we can call God codes, right? Creation codes. And so the possibilities are unlimited once we start to step into this quantum field of frequencies, of energies, of information, stepping onto that top of the roof, looking down at the chaos and bringing in that self-empowerment. It's a magical world and a magical life.
Amen. It is. This has been so wonderful. Rosa, what are some of the ways that people can work with you or find, we have your links, of course, in the description, but what are some of the things that you're doing right now that you can make an invitation to people to be able to connect with you to work together?
So in addition to my one-on-one, whether it's an energy reading, a channeling session, my mind just went blank, but bringing in soul pieces, there's so many energetic components. I do have a course on quantum healing, which is understanding energy and frequency and its consciousness and how to connect with it, how to find it within yourself, how to help others realize that. I also do a lot of classes and different meditations with angels. I love working with that dimensional field, those energies. And speaking of self-love and acceptance, working with the angelic realm is a beautiful way to have a frequency, a being support you in that space, to open up the heart and to expand on that.
Oh, yes, you're so right. Angels, they just bring that acceptance and that powerful love. It's kind of like how I experienced that inner authentic voice, because they feel like partners, but they also feel like kind of like divine parents, the angels, and see you so deeply, right?
And so of course on a one-on-one, on coachings, we can do that alignment, that bringing in an angelic being and aligning them with your own field so that you can work one-on-one with them. Because I feel that sometimes what happens in life is that we can achieve something, but then sustaining it can be kind of difficult. And this is when these light beings are just a beautiful way to support our change, to support our evolution, because they can assist us in sustaining a frequency, sustaining a place of joy or abundance or self-acceptance or love or safety, protection.
Oh, yes, that's wonderful. So you do single sessions, and do you do also coaching ongoing and different things, different, structures like that?
Yes, I do. And what I do on a one-on-one basis is I develop a program designed specifically for that person. So, sometimes people just want a one-time channeling session and tell me what's happening in my field, or, what are my gifts, or where am I, and that's fine. But for those that are really looking for a transformation, a change, a soul awakening, then I develop a personal program, as we're working one-on-one, that will specifically guide in easy ways the person to this higher frequency. So knowing themselves in a different way, freeing themselves from the old patterns and stepping into a fuller life and fuller view of self.
That's wonderful. And the quantum healing class, is that something on demand, or is that something that you teach live periodically?
Yes, that's something that I do online via Zoom
Oh, okay.
periodically, and my next one will be coming in towards the end of January, beginning of February.
In
So
22.
people
Okay.
can sign up through Zoom.
Awesome. Wow, that's cool. I may have to join you there.
Oh, great.
Wow. Well, this has been so beautiful, Rosa. Yeah, gosh, your wisdom, your heart, your authenticity. It's just so beautiful to be in your energy. And I'm just so grateful to have you in my life. Really.
Tricia, thank you. I'm only mirroring. I feel the same for you. But above all, thank you so much for creating this space and
Oh.
for allowing the information to come out, for allowing, others to be provoked by all the things that we've been discussing and talking about.
And we are moving forward into a brighter quantum existence together that we're co-creating. I agree. I agree with what you say about that. So thank you for guiding us in that and leading this. And thank you for coming on the show today. It's been beautiful.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Loved playing with you.
Yes, I'd love to play with you too. I got so much from that conversation, so inspired, so much wisdom, and so much just pure love pouring from Rosa. So everyone, do please check out the links in the description. You'll be able to find how to connect with Rosa, the work that she's doing. And also do check in the description for the upcoming programs that I am offering, and as well as including the new changes that are coming to the Mystic Arts Academy. Stay tuned, stay tuned. And once more, I want to invite you to subscribe. Find me on Instagram at triciacarcharm.com. No, it's not .com. At triciacarcharm. And then, of course, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Tricia Carr, where I post excerpts from some of these podcasts as well as other individual content and I'm actually live streaming on there every now and again, maybe about once a week, depending on when you're listening to this. So I really appreciate you. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.